Tengfu, in terms of the consumer side of the business, of the banking business as it applies to the ASEAN banks, where are you putting non-performing loans and asset and credit quality over the next 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, I think for Asia Pacific banks in general, we have a stable outlook down there. Now, if you think about it, from the broader macro perspective, the outlook, the economic outlook for Asia Pacific is largely on a very strong footing. Economic growth is still strong. We are talking about 3 to 4% on average down there. And a lot of asset quality issues that we have seen have sort of subsided over the past few years, given how in Asia Pacific the economic growth has come up nicely down there. So in terms of asset quality, we have a stable outlook, and we don't think that there is a lot of risk coming through. But that being said, I think the tide has changed a bit. Now we are looking at a bit of a global economic downturn scenario, where a lot of these Asia Pacific country, the exports will be affected. And this is something, and also in terms of the inflation that is kind of elevated, and interest rate, in fact, are coming up for many of these economies. So we are kind of a bit more cautious right now in terms of the cycle.
Tengfu, springboarding from Sri's original question, is it a case of, when it comes to investors' feelings towards banks in APAC, size really does matter, because they've been watching what's happening in the US and they've been looking at the smaller banks? And again, it might be rightly or wrongly, it might be a small bank, a regional bank that actually has strong fundamentals, but they tend to get lumped into the one big bag, don't they? And they're saying, you know what, I'd rather put my money with a big bank or even a multinational bank. Is that something that you are seeing happening here in APAC?
Yeah, I think the trend is the same. So usually when you have a much bigger bank, that is more confident in terms of the long history, the kind of franchise that have. I think banking is something to do with a lot with confidence. And obviously, some of these bigger banks has been operating for the longest time, and they do instill confidence down there. But another point to note is that when we look at what's happening in the US compared to Asia Pacific, there are quite a lot of differences, I would say, in terms of the exposure to, I think as you guys have already known, in terms of the deposit exposure to the tech sector, the VC sectors, in terms of how granular it is, and also in terms of the regulation. I think in Asia Pacific, these are on a more firmer, stronger standing than what we are seeing in the US right now.